There you go. Come on, guys.
He was the fire starter.
Let's all hate these people, because maybe hate is what we need if we're going to get something done.
Donald Trump was calling basically for us to be murdered. This was an article written in 1989 where Donald Trump was calling for the execution of 5 young people who became known as the Central Park Five. I'm one of them. I really didn't know anything about Donald Trump until he took out those ads and called for our execution. Every time I think about that, I think had this been the 1950s, we would have been modern-day Emmett Tills. They'd have our names, our phone numbers, and addresses in the papers. And so what would have happened? Somebody from the darkest places of society would have come to our homes, kicked in our doors, and drug us from our homes, and hung us from the trees in Central Park. That would have been the type of mob justice that they were seeking. When we were found to be innocent, I was beyond overjoyed.
Men cleared after spending years in prison for a crime they did not commit.
To be able to braggadociously say, "We told you so. We didn't do this." I mean, we knew it. Here we are full circle. If we look at everything that this man has said, everything is destructive and dangerous. We can't just say, "Oh, I'm just gonna blindly give my vote out," and not hold people accountable. And we definitely need to take a stance against having a person like Donald Trump be in the Oval Office. We can do this, and we must do this. It's important and necessary, and we need to use our vote collectively to make sure that the right thing happens. A sister once said that we need to Spike Lee this campaign and do the right thing, just like that.
Well, welcome to the Gilchrist experience. Can you imagine if Hillary Clinton was president? What a marvelous world we might have today. Well, we got this clown, I don't know what to call him. Putin's bee? Excuse me. Let me be offensive. But man. I mean, my God, just think of it. Just a few months ago, we had some hope of sanity on the planet. Welcome to the show, Sharon Salam. You just saw her son, Sept.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Well,
Glad
how
to be
has
here.
it been since we've gotten this? We've come a long way.
Yes, we have, and obviously, we have further to go than I thought. Because I did think for a minute that we wouldn't have as far, that things would be moving full speed ahead and be a little under control and everything would be fine. But it's almost like after slavery was over, we went through this period of Reconstruction,
Right.
and that was a short-lived time, and we've gone
8
through
years.
other short-lived times,
8
and
years.
now look like we're getting ready to go through another short-lived time. But I'm hoping that we in our various communities have with the wherewithal to stand firm and fight against returning to where we were. Because as a people, in our communities, Black people in particular, we are tired of being discriminated against. And we want the justice that's due us and has been due us since we arrived here in this country.
Wow.
Amen.
It's interesting, modern technology, that we can have Yusef Salam here via Skype. We're up to date here at M&N. I mean, are you there, Sharon? Sharon. I mean,
Yes,
Yusef. Can we get Yusef up on the Skype? I'd like to hear your comments. You just press the, do I have to come back and show you how to do it?
Introduce.
Well, give me your comments.
This is a time when I feel a couple of things. One, this is a time that we're able to teach off of. That those of us who've been unconvinced of the necessity of getting more deeply involved in community
Why can't you
challenges, I won't call them problems, challenges. Those of us who have been thinking that we don't need to join an organization, such as a church, a mosque, a Masonic lodge, or any other group that can be mobilized to deal with some of the challenges
Not now.
that we're confronted with, whether it's education of our young people, whether it's the protection of senior citizens, who I'm learning a number of our senior citizens are being railroaded into guardianship and their wherewithal being taken away from them. So I think with Trump in, as opposed to bemoaning the fact that he's in, we have to begin to mobilize. We have to begin to come together and force our churches even, our mosques even, to take greater steps to safeguard our mutual survival.
That is so true, because you know, years ago, and I'm sure you're old enough to remember, that there was a time where we would take our young people into these institutions and they would be trained how to respond under certain situations.
Right.
And it's sad, here we are in 2017, and we're at a point where we need to start taking our children back into these institutions so that they can learn how to respond,
That's right.
how to carry themselves on the street for their own safety.
Okay.
And we should not really be about that at this time.
All right. Yusef, I think we can get you now. You have to take yourself off mute.
Yes, let me know if you can hear me clearly.
Yeah, we can hear you now. And we can
Okay.
see you.
Yes, indeed.
All right.
You know, it's definitely it's an interesting time to be in, I would say, because when we look at all of the things that keep happening, in some instances people are shocked, but I think people need to really not be as shocked as they are. But I'm to wake up and realize that this individual has always shown his card. You know, it's funny. I was in the store earlier getting some breakfast, and the white family was in there, and you know, I don't know if they were Trump supporters or not, but one of the guys, the father figure, said to his son, you know, that's the Trump card, you know, and I was like, whoa, you know, and I'm sitting there, standing there listening to this, and of course it's a lot more impactful to me because I have a direct relationship with this guy.
Right.
You know, the relationship I have is
Right.
not just the fact that, you know, took out these full-page ads calling for the death of us in a similar manner, I think, that would have happened to Emmett Till. But, you know, when you think about here, my mom was on the street and she had to fend for herself and also defend and fend for my brother and my sister who were still out there, who still needed her protection, her love, and her care. And she still needed to move forward in their life as she helped me and moved forward in my life as well. And, you know, I'm looking at this post that I put out. I wish I had the date of this particular post, but it was put out on Instagram, and it troubled me because what troubled me about it was there are things that we forget, and I also forgot this particular thing that Donald Trump had done. But a guy had. This was September 20th of 2016 when I posted this. And it's just a disgusting kind of thing where here Donald Trump, you know, he's talking to the Rolling Stones, or somebody is talking to the Rolling Stones, his biographer is talking to the Rolling Stones, and he says, in an interview shortly after the settlement was announced, where he was still mulling his candidacy, Trump said he believed his brash shoot from the hip style would prove an advantage. And then this is the quotes. I think it will help me, he told his biographer, Michael D'Altino. I think people are tired of politically correct. I just attacked the Central Park 5 settlement. Who is going to do that? This is an evil man.
Yeah.
This is a person who, for all intents and purposes, you have people who have been brought to this country not in a similar manner as we have brought to this country from Africa, ripped from the clutches of our motherland and sold into slavery and made to work for centuries on end for nothing. And in a way, they're still trying to do that through the prison industrial complex.
Right.
You know, but with the passing of this new bill, this hope that he can now push out all of the people who dream the impossible dream, who think about America in the way that it is the land of the free and the home of the slave. I mean, well, I guess I did say that correctly, right? The first time. I mean, it's that reality that we're under. And, you know, if he wants to kick anybody out, then I think that, you know, Melania should be the first one on the boat.
Oh, good for you, man. I love it.
You know,
I love it. I love it.
If he wants to kick us out as Africans in America, then send us back to the motherland and send our wealth that we brought from there and that's continuing to be raped from the land back with us to the motherland so that we can rebuild ourselves in that reality that we need. I mean, we're talking about some other stuff that's going on. We're talking about, you know, when you think about the fact that, you know, scriptures have talked about the end of times, or what's going to be happening, which are the floods, and we're talking about the fires, and
yeah.
I mean, just overwhelming distress. I was looking at a Instagram post earlier, and in a way, it was comedic, but it wasn't. And in the comedy, what they showed a picture of a comedian, and the caption said, "Hey," it said it was from Florida. It said, "Hey, Houston," or "Hey, Texas, can we get some of that money and some of that water and those relief funds that we just sent you?" Because the whole of America is being assaulted. And when you think about the assault, you got to really question what's going on. You got a wicked man in high places. We got a wicked thing happening. We got people who have been hiding their hatred of us as a people, who are now feeling as if it is comfortable and it's okay to come out of hiding. You know, this is what's going on in this country. You know, and it's a really, really, really. We need to gear up, I think. And I was just telling my wife earlier, I said, you know, hey, maybe I should make sure we have enough gas in the car and make sure that we buy enough water and, you know, things like that. I mean, here we are in the middle of a land where we should be safe, but right now, the hurricanes that have already started coming through the Caribbean are now coming to Florida and coming to Georgia and coming up into the bottom of America, you know. Right. But just being prepared, just being ready, and just really understanding that even as we move into the new reality that we seek, we can't move with a blind eye. They've showed their trump card.
Oh, really?
And they keep on showing it.
Right. You know what we're going to do? I'm going to expose everybody to Trump's evil. You know, give you a little idea of the Nazis. The Nazi Party, which we just experienced. I mean, I think he pushed his trump card to the max now. I mean, everybody sees exactly who he is. He's half German and half Scottish.
Yes.
Right? And I know he's in debt to the douche bank for $200-300 million. And I don't know if the douche bank is run by the Nazi party. It could be. I don't know. But somehow they got some hole on his throat. All right, we know his affair with Putin. Putin even called him his bride. This is a joke. I mean, it's laughable that we let this clown into the White House. All right, let me show you some of his supporters. All right, I want you to run the Nazi crying. Now watch this guy here. Watch this one. But I've got something in front of it to give you a good contrast. Sharon hasn't seen this one. All right, let's run that piece here. We'll be right back at you. Hold on, Sept.
Who drove how long to get here?
12 hours from our car. We've been driving from north of the border, so.
Oh, you came down from Canadistan. If I was doing the radical agenda in Canada, I'd probably be arrested for it, right?
Yeah, well, in Canada, hurting people's feelings is basically illegal. I mean, it's not really criminal, but you
unless they're white males.
So when did you get into, as you said, the racial stuff?
When Trayvon Martin case happened, you know, Michael Brown and Tamir Rice and all these different things happen. Every single case, it's some little black asshole behaving like a savage, and he gets himself in trouble, shockingly enough. Whatever problems I might have with my fellow white people, they generally are not inclined to such behavior, and you know, you gotta kind of take that into consideration when you're thinking about how to organize your society.
In Oklahoma City.
Okay, so exactly, you have to go back to Oklahoma City to talk about a white act of terrorism,
Elliot Rodger,
right?
Dylan Roof.
Okay, so now you've managed to name 3 people, and I'm pretty sure Elliot Rodger wasn't explicitly white, by the way. But the thing is, you remember the names of white bombers and mass shooters, okay? Can you tell me the name of all 19 hijackers on 9/11 off the top of your head? You can remember Dylan Roof's name. You can remember Tim McVeigh's
white
name.
People were capable of violence.
I didn't say capable. Of course we're capable. I'm carrying a pistol. I go to the gym all the time. I'm trying to make myself more capable of violence. I'm here to spread ideas, talk, in the hopes that somebody more capable will come along and do that. Somebody like Donald Trump, who does not give his daughter to a Jew.
So Donald Trump, but like more racist.
A lot more racist than Donald Trump. I don't think that you could feel about race the way I do and watch that Kushner bastard walk around with that beautiful girl, okay?
Can you talk a little bit about the right adopting the politics or the political style of the left?
We don't have the camaraderie, we don't have the trust level that our rivals do. And that camaraderie and trust is built up through activism, and that is one of the tactics that we're adopting. I contacted the local police. I called the Charlottesville Police Department, and I asked them, I said, I have been told that there's a warrant out for my arrest. And they said that they wouldn't confirm it, but that I could find this out if I, excuse me, that I could find this out if I wanted to go to a local magistrate or something like that. But with everything that's happening, I don't think it's wise for me to be, you know, going anywhere. There's a state of emergency. The National Guard is here. You know, so I don't think it's a good idea for me to go there, frankly. And I don't know what to do. I've emailed Stephen Tenney of the Keene Police Department. Sorry. I have emailed Stephen Tenney of the Keene Police Department. He's one of the cops who came there. He's one of the cops who saved my ass when I had to pull my gun in Keene. And I emailed him and I said, I don't know what to do. I need guidance. I want to be peaceful. I want to be law-abiding. Okay, that was the whole entire point of this. And I'm watching CNN talk about this as violent white nationalist protests. We have done everything in our power to keep this peaceful. You know, I know we talk a lot of shit on the internet, right? But like literally, Jason Kessler applied for a permit like months ago for this, okay? When they yanked our permit, we went to the ACLU and we went to court and we won. We've been coordinating with law enforcement the entire time. Every step of the way, we've tried to do the right thing. And they just won't stop, you know? We have done everything in our power. We have used every peaceful and lawful means by which to redress our grievances. And our enemies just will not stop. We've been fucking assaulted. They are threatening us all over the place. Chelsea Manning, this tranny fanatic, has a picture of herself, talking about curb-stomping Nazis with a picture of his boot coming down on somebody. We are trying to make this peaceful. We are trying to be law-abiding, and our enemies will not stop. What options do we have left?
Is that not refreshing or what? I mean, I got such a kick out of putting that together. I mean, of course I edited the two pieces together. These were completely different interviews. All right, this was after I
After his
won't
arrest.
go through all that he said about the Nazi killing the woman. What was her name? Hillary. Mayor. Mayor's first name, Bev? What's her first name?
But
First name?
that transition from his being, so comfortable in that group, and then his being threatened with jail, that's a study for me. I'd said a couple of weeks ago, I said guys like that are paid, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because if you're a tough guy over here and you believe in what you're saying, then you're a tough guy over there.
Really?
You just don't start
You don't
crying.
punk out.
The crying part is like, I'm abandoned. Damn, I only signed up for whatever I signed up for, not for this. But
But
that's
the piece
speculation
before
on my
that, He was
part.
willing to kill, and I go to the gym, I carry a pistol, and
Well,
suddenly
Yeah.
it's turned on him. Oh, they're coming to get me.
Yeah, but part of that really is there is an undercurrent in this country that believes that if the white people step forward, that all the white people are going to rise up and they're going to believe and think the same way that they have been trained. But it comes as a shock to many to find that there are really people who don't really think that way. So when you rise up and you cause all this friction, and you're walking around with the Nazi salutes, and you're talking about these Nazi slogans, and there are a number of people who don't want to be Nazis. There are a number of white people who don't want to be Nazis. And there are a number of Jews who've dealt with the Nazis, and people who weren't Jews who dealt with the Nazis who don't want to have a new Nazi experience. They came to the United States to get away from the Nazis.
Of course.
And when you look at the history of the whites who have come here from Europe, many of them came here escaping various things. They wanted freedom of religion. They wanted all these different freedoms that they didn't have when they came here. But the problem became that they wanted these things, but they didn't want other people to have them. They just wanted it for themselves. And so in that instance, they began to create the same societies that they came from. So if they were German, they created the Nazi societies. If they were whatever it was, they created this in their minds. And as they grew into a situation where they were unproductive, because there are some who are unproductive, but no one really thinks here we're living in a society we call the United States of America. And in the United States of America, we don't need 100% employment. So if we don't need 100% employment, and someone says, well, the reason you're not employed is because of this black guy over here,
Right. Or this
then
Mexican over there.
or this Mexican, then you start blaming those people. You don't look at the overarching goal of this society that says we don't need to employ everybody. Everybody will not be employed. We don't guarantee employment for the closest time really that they ever came to 100% employment of any group of people was during slavery time. Because during that time, the men, the women, and children worked.
Everybody had to.
They didn't work for themselves, but they worked. And this is how this society and this country was built, on this free labor. So if you have free labor, then that, unfortunately, that white man that's crying, he's not needed. If you have prison labor, that white man that's crying is not needed, because you can go into these prisons and get enough people to run your business without having to hire outside workers.
Well, that's what's happening now.
Yes, it is. That's what's happening now, and that's why so much hatred, because the media and politicians and others have focused the issue into a situation where it's them against us.
That's it.
You see, and for them, they feel it's us that's doing them the injustice, even though it may not necessarily be us.
Well,
They don't want to put it on that 1%.
It's fabricated, and in terms of modern times,
Yeah.
we have been introduced to the scapegoating during the period, the initiation of affirmative action and the period after,
Right.
that we're getting jobs that we weren't qualified for. This is the mantra of the folks who did not want, and don't want us in corporate settings and political settings. So as we began to move into these areas, front page of the Business Week magazine, U.S. News and World Report magazine talked about the aggrieved white male. The white male all of a sudden was becoming a victim. And the victimization was from blacks moving into positions that he used to be in. Now, the fact of the matter is, number one, those of us that I know, and I'm speaking of myself and others who
Yeah.
moved into corporate America positions, we found white guys in positions above us that they weren't qualified
That's
for.
right. That's right.
That we were more qualified than they, and but that was one of those
you have to bring
realizations.
out the fact that in those days, which going back to the 50s, where you could start off in the mailroom, everything was on the job training. You worked your way up to you stayed loyal to the firm, and they worked with you. You know, whatever you didn't know, you went to
Exactly.
class and you learned. And we just asked for that opportunity to step into the door. I got a affirmative action job in 1970. I went to a corporation because I was a good salesman. I went in there for my interview. I tried to sell my manager a sharp computer. Right, so he liked my get up and go, and I was, you know, I was seasoned. I wasn't afraid of anybody.
Right.
I walk into a brokerage firm and sell a guy a computer. So this is what I was doing. So I walked in this interview. So yeah, I got hired because I tried to sell.
Exactly.
Right.
I was a salesman.
Right. That's
I
how
was
it
a get
is.
up and go. I was a New Yorker.
Right, but right now we have a president who has identified who the enemy is for them. And in a way, it's been lurking in the back of their mind that this person was the enemy.
Right.
But they weren't sure until Donald Trump said it. So your enemy became, as Brother Leroy has said, the blacks,
Yeah.
the Mexicans, anybody other
the
than you,
Arabs,
anybody
the
other than you
Muslims,
became your enemy, became the one that was keeping you down.
So you were triple threat. You were Muslim, female, and black.
That's right. That's right. That's right. I've kept quite a few groups down.
Isn't it interesting how they can go after Obama, and I'm not.
It's terrible.
I'm just using that. They go after Obama, so-called Obamacare, Affordable Care Act,
Yeah.
because it has the Obama tag on it. And then when they produce a substitute package, it denies their own people coverage.
Right.
And it reduces the taxes on the very rich. I mean, this thing is right in front of anybody who is looking, but the fact is, many Caucasian people aren't looking.
Well,
In
you
other
know
words, they're
that-
identifying.
Yeah.
But you remember where Obamacare originated from?
Well, that's
Governor Romney in Connecticut. It was a Republican idea that Obama brought to the Senate, knowing that if I bring you an idea that's yours, you'll vote for it. He gave them an idea from one of them. And what did they do? They turned it around because they were anti-black. We all know that.
It's a deep.
But you know what I got?
Yes.
I got for you, Obama. Hey, my man is coming back. At least by video. He's a blessing from God as far as I'm concerned. But
man.
I just want to bring to everyone's attention what Obama said about immigration. And all the
Okay.
lies they're telling about him now. All right, and we will have you, Seth, I want you to watch this and we'll have come making a comment on it. All right? Now let's run Obama on immigration. And you
Right.
see what these fools are talking about today.
There is bipartisan hope of getting it done. This year, the Senate passed an immigration reform bill by a wide bipartisan majority, and it addresses the key issues that need to be addressed. It would strengthen our borders. It would level the playing field by holding employers accountable if they knowingly hire undocumented workers. It would modernize our legal immigration system so that we eliminate the backlog of family visas and make it easier to attract highly skilled entrepreneurs from beyond our borders. It would make sure that everybody plays by the same rules by providing a pathway to earn citizenship for those who are living in the shadows. A path that includes passing a background check and learning English and paying taxes and a penalty and getting in line behind it, everyone trying to come here the right way. And each of these pieces would go a long way towards fixing our broken immigration system. Each of them has been supported by Democrats and Republicans in the past. There's no reason we can't come together and get it done. And what's more, we know the immigration reform that we're proposing would boost our economy and shrink our deficits. Independent economists have said that if the Senate bill became law over the next 2 decades, our economy would grow by $1.4 trillion more, and it would reduce our deficits by $850 billion more. And you don't have to be an economist to figure out that workers will be more productive if they've got their families here with them. They're not worried about deportation. They're not living halfway around the world. This isn't just the right thing to do, it's the smart thing to do. Right now, it's up to Republicans in the House to decide if we can move forward as a country on this bill. If they don't want to see it happen, they've got to explain why. The good news is, just this past week, Speaker Boehner said that he is hopeful we can make progress on immigration reform. And that is good news. I believe the Speaker is sincere. I think he genuinely wants to get it done. And that's something we should be thankful for this week. And I think there are a number of other House Republicans who also want to get this done. Some of them are hesitant to do it in one big bill like the Senate did. That's okay. They can, it's Thanksgiving. Yeah, we can carve that bird into multiple pieces.
That was passed by the Senate. And Boehner wouldn't bring it up in the House. Okay? Now this sat in abeyance for what, a year? Before he passed this Dreamers Act that they're saying that was unconstitutional. And he still gave the Congress time to change their mind and vote on the bill. It was passed by the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
All right? What say you, Seth? You remember that bill?
You know, I do remember it, and you know, I'm getting the audio a little late, but I do remember it, and I think it's it's always amazing, I think, to realize that the office of the presidency has always been a job, a place where you had to answer to others unseen in the context of your job that you had as the, so to speak, leader of the free nation, right? And one of the worst things that happens is that you realize that the idea, as a young person, the worst thing that happens is that you realize that your idea of what the presidency is not what you thought it was. You know?
Yeah, right.
And, you know, even with what Donald Trump is doing, I mean, at the end of the day, if you have people who are like, it always amazed me. Like, I always thought when I was growing up that being in a democratic country meant that people had the opportunity to decide as a group what they wanted to do, and then they would move forward. And I thought the opposite of that was Republican, although that's not the truth, you know? And so when you come full circle and you become wiser in terms of what's going on, it's really upsetting when you have a whole host of things that go on. Like as I listened to what President Obama said, what it reminded me of was when people were told not to come into Harlem because it was unsafe. When people were told not to go into Bed-Stuy, not to go into different areas of the so-called darker enclaves of society in the New York, context, And then, of course, when people came there, they found out that they were accepted, that they could walk around and not be harassed, that they could knock on our doors and ask us for a cup of sugar, and we would give them a cup of sugar. That we were, and this is a side note, this is besides the point as well, but we were some of the most forgiving people.
Right. There you go.
But part of that forgiveness, I think, echoes what Angela Davis said, and what she said was that we are people who have historical amnesia, because even though we know, even though if we took the opportunity to research and understand, we would never allow for the power structure to be the way it is, first of all. And second of all, this whole, like, one of the things that this brings up is the reality that when they took us from Africa and they keep trying to keep us down by miseducating us, and they keep trying to keep us down by educating us incorrectly. What happens is the beauty of us becoming educated, the beauty of people coming into a freer space and given the opportunity to be educated and given the opportunity to produce and to share their resources and their ideas with others, is that you create a greater society, a much stronger society. And by disallowing folks to stand up and say, hey, I want to immigrate into this country, I want to become a natural citizen of this country, I want to reveal myself, he's created this same thing where people are going to go further into hiding, further trying to get away from the fact that, hold on, I don't know, like they don't know anything else. No one knows anything else who came to this country as an infant. The only thing they know is this country, and the fact that President Obama was talking about these bills that were sitting for a very, very long time, collecting dust. Right. When something could have been done about it, and here we are, we woke up in the American nightmare, and it's funny because people always say stay woke, but some people still are trying to get awake. They're trying to wake up, and I don't want to not acknowledge the fact that there are people that are not awake, but I woke up a long time ago. I woke up because I never forget, and my mom is there and she could bear witness to this. My mother used to teach us and educate us a particular way when it came to the power structures, especially when the power structures were moving and operating in a manner that was not courteous, that was not professional, and didn't afford us any kind of respect, right? And with me not knowing the real history of what happened in this country and what happened to us, and me being naive and me being so young and me being optimistic, it caused me to view them through a different lens until I was able to view them in the correct lens. And unfortunately, it happened to me when I was 15 years old. And I say unfortunately, but it was a fortunate thing as well, because one of the things that I didn't know and I didn't understand was that they already had singled me out when they looked at me. They already judged the book by the cover, and they said, this one is the darkest one out of the group. This one is the tallest one out of the group. Right. And look, his name is Yusef Salaam. Right. He is a threat. And so they were trying to kill the threat before it got an opportunity to grow. And one of the best things was that I was placed into a space where, not that I became a threat, but that the opportunity for me to grow was even, it was afforded to me in the best way, because there was nothing outside, no outside influences that could hamper the process as it took place. And so therefore, in the belly of the beast, I was meeting members of the original Black Panther Party, members of the original Black Liberation Army, people who were about changing society for the better, as opposed to changing the society for the worse, which kept people under the foot of the power structure. This same power structure what we see on the side of the police cars that I alluded to earlier, which says courtesy and respect. But yet, if you're a person of color, you don't get the first letters. If you get under the clutches of those folks who are there to do you harm, you will not get CPR. They will take you out.
You know what I found interesting, and what I learned from you, Sept, is that bitterness and pain was like taking poison and expecting your enemy to die.
Yes.
You remember that?
Yes, indeed. That is something that I had to digest that. I had to understand what my hero Nelson Mandela was saying, what he was trying to allude to when he was saying that if you being angry at something, being bitter at something is just like drinking poison and expecting your enemy to die. Donald Trump could care less about what he did to us. He jokingly made those jokes on to his publicist through Twin Stone about the whole thing, and it was clear. Once you read that, it becomes crystal clear that this person does not have a bone of in his body. Empathy, no, at all. None of that is his reality. But what it speaks to, though, I think, is as we look at how Donald Trump moves and how he does what he does, and then we begin to say, hold on, I just saw that same process carry itself out on Long Island the other day.
Yeah.
The way that it carried itself out was there was a young man who killed some people, and they created a new term for him to be let go. And that term was affluenza. And there's so many people who are walking around
Right.
here that they are the rulers of the earth.
Right.
When the true rulers of the earth rule by the law of God,
Right.
you know?
Well, we are a spiritual people.
Yes.
I think that's the important part that we learned from your statement right there, Nelson Mandela. Holy and becoming a devil ourselves. We can't. I mean, this is a test for us.
Yes, it is.
We have to stay to our spiritual selves and bring out the God that lies within. And we have to spread that energy.
Yeah,
I mean, it's so poignant what you said about being bitter and angry, and it's like taking poison and expecting your enemy to die. Whenever you take on too much stress, I know I stressed myself, and I caught shingles for being stressed out. I mean, you poison your body with negativity.
I have a question for Yusuf.
Yes.
Brother Yusuf, in light of what you know, in light of what you've experienced at the time of the frame-up and what you see today, what is your message to young black brothers and sisters?
My message is that we young black brothers and black sisters, and I think, and most importantly, the young black woman, right? We are being framed up right now. And I mean that figuratively and literally. They are putting us in a frame, and they are describing to us a reality that they are pushing down our throats.
Right.
And one of the greatest things that happened to me when I was a youngster was that I had the ability to listen to the origins of hip hop, and I was being birthed around the time where hip hop was coming out, and I'm listening with a very keen ear as to what was being said, and it was something that was liberating us. And I think that the unfortunate thing is that as hip hop has become utilized as a tool to further cause society to go down a destructive hole, the most attractive songs are the ones that are the most disrespectful, the most craziest, the illness is what is seen as good, You know, it used to be that we saw that commercial back in the days where, you know, people were kind of leaning over to the side. And, you know, you saw the person at the bus stop and they, you know, they were looking at the person that was leaning over to the side. And then they picked up their V8 drink and they drunk their V8. And the person leaning over to the side said, man, I wish I had a V8. But there's so many people leaning to the side in society today that the ones who are standing up, who are right-minded, who are rightly guided, whose consciousness is right on point, those are the ones who are looking like they're leaning to the side. And so ones that are leaning to the side are the movers and the shakers into this world. These are the ones who are controlling things. And I think that as young people, we have the awesome opportunity to realize that, yes, this is our only life. You know, they coined that term a little while ago called YOLO, that you only live once. And I tell young people all the time, you are absolutely right. But you know what? I want this to be your best life. I want you to put your best foot forward. I want you to look at yourself in the same way the people who plant bamboo trees. You know, the person who planted the bamboo tree, you have to be very, very on top of the planting and the watering and the nurturing of those bamboo trees, because for 4 years you have to water it every day and you will not see any result. But in that 4th or 5th year, you will begin to see that bamboo shoot out of the ground, and within a few months it will grow past your height. And people always say, well, was it the fact that, you know, it grew so quickly? No, it had been growing underground. Just like that old picture that we see of the students at Howard University. It says, you tried to bury us, but forgot we were seeds. And that's the same thing with our ancestors. Our ancestors, you know, I never forget when I think about my grandmother, and she used to write me in prison, and she would send me these beautiful thought-provoking letters and cards. And it caused me, I think about my reality in a way different way. And I think that that's what we need as young people today. We need to begin to become alchemists and take the shape that they're trying to give us and reshape it, reform it. You know, just like when I told people the other day, I said, look, when they sent me to prison, they tried to turn me into a slave.
Right.
In the 13th Amendment, it's right there. It says that they can turn you back into a state of slavery for the punishment of a crime, but they tried to turn me into a slave. And the best thing that happened, I think, was that my mother being my rock and my salvation, my brother, my sister being there, my aunts, my uncles, my grandmother, I mean, all of these folks who were there, who were making sure that I didn't fall while I was in the prison industrial complex, you know, it allowed me to get make a different outcome, to take that and to bend it into something new and to utilize it as a place of learning so that I could say in myself, no, I refuse to become a slave. That thing that they tried to kill then is who I am today and who I am becoming, you know? And I think that, you know, when I look at, I'm so proud and happy that my mother gave me the education she gave me before prison, because I didn't get it until I got into prison. But now outside of prison, I tell young people, man, you have to listen to your parents, because not only, it's not just your parents, every man should be seen as your grandfather, your father, or your son, or your father, brother, or son. And every woman should be seen as your mother, your grandmother, your sister, or your daughter. And so the education that we can get and the education that we can give is important. And we need to look at we can't, like I said, we can't look at what's happening to us and the destruction that's going on around us and say, man, shoot, man, you know, well, we only live once, man. So therefore, let me drink this poison. Let me smoke this poison. Let me think this poison. Let me act this poison. It's important for us to change that.
Thank you, Sept. You know, that is so profound. I mean, to know you as well as I know you, and to see what you've gone through, and to be and participate.
Yes.
And be there all these years, you know.
All these
I go
years.
back to us sitting there and doing shows with Kenyatta.
Oh, yes, yes.
I started to bring a clip up for you about
Yeah,
that.
I remember Kenyatta. That was
You
one
know.
man I could call on day and night.
I want
He was
to
always available. Yes, he
point out
was.
something that as they were taking a son from you,
Yeah.
you began to help parents
That's right.
regain
That's
their
right.
children. Share with us quickly how.
Well, Kenyatta was part of this.
Yeah, we started People United for Children, and
That's
now
right.
we're
That's
in
right.
Justice for the Wrongfully Incarcerated.
Right.
And in People United for Children, we work to try to get parents and children back to their parents who had been removed and placed into foster care.
Right.
Because it can be a daunting experience to have your child taken.
ACS.
That's right. That's right. You went with me on a few cases.
Oh my God.
You know,
What an
and so
explosion.
we went and tried to help parents to organize and get the strength to fight, because ACS, even though they have helped some children, will never help all the children that are there. And many of the children were being injured by the experience of that ACS experience. Many were injured, and injured for life. And the family relationship was injured.
Oh.
And was never ever going to be put back together. That's one of the reasons why when People United for Children, we put together this bill that we took up to Albany. It's Assembly Bill A5306. And we went up to Albany, and right now, Assemblyman Jeffron Aubrey has the bill, and we're trying to get this bill passed that speaks to putting things back together so that you can live your life
That's
after
it.
incarceration.
Oh.
Particularly if you have been wrongfully incarcerated. It talks about the financial piece of wrongfully incarcerated, how people who have been wrongfully accused should be compensated for their time. It talks about the health services, the mental health services, the bonding process that is fractured while you were incarcerated with your loved ones, how to get all those things back. It talks about job education, getting job training, housing. Because did you know that if you go to jail, when you come out and you go into a homeless shelter, you have to be there a year before you can qualify.
A year.
Yeah, you have to be there a year before you can qualify.
You have to be in.
For a key. And a key means you can get your own apartment. You can get a room, but then while this is going on,
You have
but
to
you
stay
have
in-
to stay there.
For a year. For a year.
Yeah, to qualify for them to assist you. For them to assist you with other types of services. So all of this is part of the problem. But now when you come out of prison and they have said that you have an innocent person, then a lot doesn't kick in for you, because that record is wiped out, so to say. So it's almost like you were there, but you really weren't. So the services that they give people who were incarcerated coming out, they don't give to you because you weren't there. You see? So we're trying to address that in that bill. And for those of you who are out there, please call your representatives and have them support this bill, A5306. Read it. Go to Justice for the Wrongfully Incarcerated, Justice, the number 4, the wrongfully incarcerated, and see what we're doing. Come out to us, to our program, and get on board, because we need you. As long as it's just me calling out in the wind, I know Yusef talks about how he has moved on, but I get great pleasure about giving him hell about what I've gone through, baby. And he has moved on, but I can give him some more hell right now. But we are not talking about that hell issues. You see, I'm getting all excited even talking about it. I mean, where's my medicine?
Your medicine is actually being involved in what we call the struggle.
That's right.
That is your medicine. Not to be involved. You wake up in the morning, wake up late at night about what you should have done.
That's right.
Because
that's
you
right.
knew you could have helped someone. And that's the nature of the situation that we're in. We're in all hands on deck.
All hands
as it
on
relates
deck.
to black people in America. We're all hands on deck. people in the senior citizen homes who know how to read and write. This is my mantra. You got to find a way to get involved in the church and do some tutoring with your little children.
Yes.
Retirees who said they were teachers and principals. I don't know how you can be retired as a principal and a teacher and not be dealing with some aspect of volunteer work to help our children, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We are all hands on deck. We got to get involved. And they're talking about a universal black community beginning to get involved.
That's right. Get involved.
And you're going where at 6 o'clock?
I'm going to get involved. Hey, I got to work off this energy I got and share it with somebody.
Yeah.
We're going to go out. I'm going to join this group that works with the works with the release of elders from prison.
Elders.
Elders, because we got so many elders that we're paying for who are behind bars, who have all kind of diseases, who need all kind of help. And we as citizens pay for this, and don't think that just because you're on public assistance, you're not paying, baby.
Right.
When you go and you pay your taxes, you paying too. We all paying. Yes.
Get involved.
Get involved. If you want a solution, get involved. And another thing, don't think that all of this is just happening in the South.
No.
This stuff is in the North too.
Wait a minute. This Nazi that I showed,
Yeah.
he's from Long Island.
That's right. He's from all. That's right.
Nazi.
That's
He's
right.
from Long Island.
But he went down south.
Yeah.
To bring the hate to the South. Hey, remember, it's all around us. It's happening every day, and it can be anywhere. It could be your next door neighbors. Remember that building where they had all those Nazi things, and they had to take that man into court to get all of that stuff off of the building walls?
Yeah.
It could happen anywhere.
You know, the interesting thing as we conclude, the image of anti-Semitism in America has been portrayed as black men, black figures.
That's never been a fact.
Minister Farrakhan, Khalid, you go down the list, Malcolm, has been portrayed as black men.
But it's never
Yeah.
been.
And when you hear about these anti-Semitic actions in their community, the tombstones, the Jewish tombstones are overturned.
Yes.
Black people ain't running through no
That's right.
cemetery, turning
No.
over nobody's
Jews and blacks.
tombstone.
That's not our thing. That's not our thing.
We got 30 seconds
We
left.
got 30
Sept,
seconds.
It was beautiful, man. Can't wait to see you here in New York. But we can always Skype you in. I see you're
Well, listen,
readily
I'll be there in
available,
a few
right?
days. I'm gonna be in New York in a few days.
Okay.
I'm actually scheduled to be at a book signing in Brooklyn. I believe it's on the 16th and the 16th and 17th.
Okay.
But if folks want to check me out,
You gotta
they
go.
can look me up online. I'm gonna be broadcasting this
The
book.
God in me loves the God in you. Stay tuned for more of the Gilchrist Experience. God bless.
All right now.
All right.
Yes, and don't forget that book.
We should have did that a long time ago.
Yes, yes. I
That's,
told you about
missed
the book.
it.
I thought you was
know, but
talking
we
about the
should have
book.
mentioned it. Now I know the lives.